Good morning, or good afternoon, or maybe it's good evening. I'm not sure where you are. At least good, and I'm glad that we're here. Letting go of stuff that no longer serves us, and the big question being, how do we do that, and what exactly should we let go of? We had some clues earlier, and the ones I saw that popped up in the word cloud, which are really, let's not say popular, maybe unpopular, was self-doubt, imposter syndrome, self-critic. They're all connected together, I think, driven by those other two things that are on the board there. I would say uncertainty, which is COVID and everything else in the world, all the changing stuff around us, and driven by our fear, which is our reaction to the stuff around us quite often. So with that, just want to say welcome to Creative Mornings Oslo. We're going to explore release, resistance, change, creativity, and the dynamics of acceptance and surrender. So as you see, I've let go of one thing today already. It's slides. So it's going to be analog on the whiteboard. I'm probably going to need some help occasionally for you to shout something out. Maybe Claudia, you put it in the chat. Claudia will shout it out to me. I'll put it on the board. If you're wondering at all who I am, well, there's going to be no bio. We've already had the little intro. And I think maybe life's what's and whys, and especially the hows, are much more interesting. But I can say that I'm fairly passionate about embracing, nurturing, and safeguarding nature, including human nature. The wordsmith in me wants to say things like, I'm a proponent of presence. I'm an advocate of awareness. I'm a apostle of acceptance. These are all things I'm going to come back to. I'm a true believer in the power of being. And I'm also not a fan of Frank Sinatra, but what I call the Sinatra method, which I was talking to Julia and Claudia about this, which is the way to do your way through life, to live and be out there in the world from this place of being, from being fully present, aware in how we are and what we're doing. So you might wonder about the hat as well. This is just me saying that I take this seriously, you know, but I'm not wearing pajamas just below. If I tilt the screen down, you suddenly say, oh, he's in his pajamas, you know, he's barely out of bed. But no, I put a shirt on, I put a hat on. It's almost like being outdoors and being in the serious world, folks. So that's the reason for the hat. Back to the idea of letting go. So what are we letting go of? A lot of ideas here. I'd say often it's ideas, emotions, expectations. I often want to let go of old habits that don't serve me anymore, relationships, thoughts. And I want to let go of stuff because, well, I need to change, I need to grow, I need to develop. And all that means being creative, does it not? And if anybody knows about being creative, it's this community here, Creative Mornings. Need I say more? Maybe I want to say some more about creativity, actually. What do we know about creativity? What I know about creativity, more than anything else, is that thoughts and IQ, thoughts and intelligence just don't do it. All the science, well, neuroscience at least, says that 90% of what we're thinking and therefore often doing each day, up to 90%, is repetition. Same loops, stories, internal narratives as the day before. And there's a huge piece of research which went into this in Europe some years back, where they followed thousands of people, different countries, from very early school age through until they were 50 plus. And what that showed was creativity. They did the same creativity test on these people throughout their life stages. And up until around 10 years, they scored like 95% creativity score. By the time we get to my period in life, 50 plus, we're down to 5% creativity. So that's where some of us are at. Depending on your age, you can gauge where you're at. So what's stopping us being creative? You know, and some of it is individual, some of it is cultural, some of it is like universal. I could pop a few things up on the board maybe, but do pop in the chat. What stops you being creative, folks? And Claudia, if there's anything pops up in the chat, shout it out. I'll be putting a few things up here, things that stop us. It's things like being alone, being in a noisy environment, feeling unsafe, insecure, all that stops us. Distraction, we're going to come back to that. Can't be creative.
In the chat, we have tiredness, fear of not being accepted, perfectionism, the hustles and need to work of the society.
Right.
Fear.
Fear.
Motivation, aversion to failure.
Failure. Multitasking, that's another thing we think is good, and it's no good for creativity. I'm going to add two nasty S's, speed and stress.
Lack of focus. Excuses.
Focus, good. We're definitely going to come back to focus.
Luke says excuses.
Again.
Excuses.
Excuses. Oh, that's a good one. Excuses, yeah. And sometimes it's just a very critical voice and it's not a good one at all. What are excuses? Us being creative about explaining things, yeah? As long as we take responsibility, okay. I got another one here. We'll drop that. Competition I was going to put up there, which is whether it's the inner critic competition or it's competition with other people. It's usually the death of creativity, folks. Anyway, that was a fairly ugly list and sort of fairly beautiful as well in its variety and its diversity. So what supports us in our creativity? Pop it in the chat as well, shout it out. I would say as a mindfulness trainer, I know that it's structure and simplification are two things that help me. Finding calm, silent space where I can co-create and process things. Sometimes diversity, changing my surroundings helps me. Starting and finishing tasks in a really good way. Sounds boring, but boy, oh boy, does it make a difference to my day. And Claudia's saying, giving me the thumbs up twice over there, I think. Something else popped up in the chat?
Yes, so we have space, peer recognition, desire, solitude, curiosity, sense of done.
Curiosity. Sense of accomplishment.
Yeah, accomplishment and sense of done. So it's this idea of tackling the to-do list.
Yeah, and allowing mistakes. Yes, we can fake it until we make it. That's just creative indifference, which we'll get back to. Yeah, positive routines. Set up positive routines in your life. Designers out there, less is more. Do we pay lip service to that, or do we actually do a little less? Slow down a little. Focus, that's the last one I'm going to have up there, is focus. I think it came in earlier as well. Focus.
Breathing.
Right, I'll take that as a hint. This is me taking a couple of deep breaths. We'll get back to this in a moment. So focus, because our everyday awareness, the awareness you have now about what's going on, is a pretty precious commodity. It can handle around 7 bits of information every second, just 7 bits of information. So that's what you can be clear about in your everyday awareness from moment to moment, generally. So some of those supports, focus is really important. I would say what's most important is finding your way of connecting to your subconscious, connecting to your inner resources, your way of like observing your inner world, connecting to your intuition and that inner wisdom. And that inner wisdom, don't dumb it down, because remember how many pieces of information you could have in your everyday awareness? Anybody? 7. I don't know whether you can see that on I'll put it up there. 7. And the amount of information that's actually coming in through all your sensory apparatus every second is more like 11 million. So there's this vast amount of information coming into us every second. We're just aware of, like, we're able to work with 7 bytes of information, bits of information. So the rest of it is all in here. So we have to have a way of like coming into these, accessing these inner resources, if we're going to bring out this world-changing creativity that we have in us, every one of us. So how do we do that? It's almost like a piece of poetry, this, when I say it out loud. Get out of your mind and come to your senses. 7 bits of information, 11 million bits of information. And, you know, how do you do that? Well, Einstein played the violin. Then he had his big earth-shaking discoveries. Picasso, the story goes anyway, went and had a hot bath. For most of us, it's like we either do something physical and we rest in a good way. Or for me, it's about awareness techniques, my mindfulness training. So we're going to try a lightning method now. Let me check the time. How are we doing? Okay. So I just want you to close your eyes, kick back, relax, comfortable position. Just start to notice your body. Is it tingling? What's happening in there? And notice your breaths moving in and out of your body. And just do some 4 counts on your breath. Count 4 as you breathe in. Count 4 as you pause. Count 4 as you breathe out. Pause for 4. So it's in, 1, 2, 3, 4. Pause, 1, 2, 3, 4. Release, 1, 2, 3, 4. And pause, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then just start noticing what there is to notice. You open up your senses and just notice. Good. Thank you for joining us on that little journey into experience, your experience. And a method of doing that is really important in life. If we want to be creative, we want to let go of things, we want to deal with change. And the reason for that is that change, all the stuff going on around us, that's external, isn't it? Changes all the time in the world. But transition, which is the creative part of that, how we deal with it, is an internal process. It sort of shifts the story of who we think we are, who we are. And it's important then to see that when something happens out there and I have to adapt to it, it's not a technical problem. I don't just fix it in the world out there and go and try and fix it. I have to do some inner work, create some inner change. And the Gestalt people call that the paradox of change. And I've turned this into a little rhyme so it's easier to remember. So the paradox of change, let's have a look. When you become what you are and let go of what you were, change can occur. So when you become what you are and let go of what you were, change can occur. When you let go of wanting to be, change can set you free. So when you let go of what you want to be, change can set you free. So what's this is trying to speak to, really, my little rhyme, is letting go of this obsessive focus on past and future that our minds naturally have. Past and future, we're always wanting to go there rather than be in this sometimes uncomfortable, unpredictable now. But the thing is, we can only start from this now place if we're going to create any change in our lives. It can only start here. A clear awareness of how I am and who I can be in the moment. What everyone is talking about these days is the now. What's the now? You know, the present moment. Well, I've created a little reminder of what the now is for me, the way I experience it when I'm fully aware. There's an N, there's an O, and there's a W in now. It's this never-ending, omnipresent wonder, a sense of wonder. So that's how I experience the now. When I'm fully present, that's where I am. I know that it's always there in me. I can always access it. It is everywhere in everybody. And it fills me with a sense of wonder. A really creative place to be when I'm there. And what happens to me when I'm there is that I really see my experience clearly. My thoughts, emotions, perceptions, all that stuff, that's information that's coming in. I clearly see that, and I see that it's not me. It's just information that comes and goes. And then I don't need to fight any of it. When I see that, it's just coming and going. I can embrace it, and I can release it, let go of it. And that's where the choice happens, in that little space of seeing what's going on, and that it's always changing, and it's not me. And that's a sort of deep sense of freedom. And I think that's why it fills me with a sense of wonder, because that's the space where freedom is for me. Having said that, let's experiment with it. So what I want you to do really is just ride me. It's a very short awareness experiment. Close your eyes again. Take a deep breath or two. Get back into your body. Notice, notice, notice. And then open your eyes, turn round slightly, look where you are. So open your eyes, just turn around, look in the room where you are, and just notice all the objects, all the details, the color, the light, the shapes. And now, use your thoughts to just isolate and label all these things and describe in your mind what you just saw. All those details, objects, color, light, shapes. Do you notice the difference, folks? From turning around, seeing it all, snapshot of life, you instantly get it, and then this hard work and it takes a long time to do all this breaking it up into like all the details, and your thinking mind gets involved in that. So that is the difference really. When you're in this place of the now, you get it in a big way. Was that a flash of hand there? Was it? 5 minutes. Claudia, can you allow me a little bit more than that? Because we started late, did we not? Or am I wrong?
Yes, I'm already having that. So it's 8:51.
Yeah.
So it's 8:46. So it's, yeah.
Super.
But
then
we can.
All good. Let's see, where are we now? So we're there. So why is this difficult? If it's so great to do this snapshot awareness and be in the now, why is that difficult? Well, that's difficult because we have 3 pervasive habits of mind, folks, and they are 50% distracted. These are on average for all of us all the time. We're 50% distracted. 80% of the time, we are negative in one way or another. Self-criticism came up earlier. 90% of the time, as we saw earlier with the creativity thing, we're on repeat. We're just looping the same stuff over and over. Very little creativity there. So those 3 mind habits really get in the way of being in the now, being creative, letting go, doing all the other stuff we want to do. So this reactivity, autopilot reactions, what we also do with that is we create the 3 A's out of it as well, which are autopilot responses to our experience. And acceptance is not one of those. So what are the 3 A's there? It's attraction. I want more of that. Go there. It's aversion. I don't want that. Go away. Or it's apathy. So it's basically like, dislike, or don't give a shit. That's how we divide up our experience, according to the science, amazingly enough. While we're running these scripts of being negative, repetitive, and hugely distracted. So to change this takes a little bit more than letting go. It means that we've got to rewire our minds in some way. And to do this, the mindfulness people say 2 superpowers, acceptance and surrender. And they really are superpowers. So acceptance is where letting go begins. And what we've got to let go of there really in acceptance is our resistance, our idea that that's something bad, it's just natural. So what can we say about that? Resistance, which leads to suffering, or does it not? I would say here's a little piece of science for you. P times R equals S. What does that mean? It means pain times resistance equals suffering. So when we resist something we don't like in life, causes suffering. But if we can flip that around to be pain, something I don't like, I bring that awareness to it, I'm just in the now, can accept it a little bit, then it is much less suffering because I'm with the awareness. That's a huge difference. I'm just staying with the awareness. I'm trying to compromise this now because of the time, so bear with me for a moment. At least this means less pain. Not that it isn't painful, but you are more aware of how you are than the pain itself, which is one of those things passing through us, experience passing through us. A little bit of perspective or mental strategy you can throw in there is, people say that if you can solve the problem, challenge, why worry? So then you can engage and co-create with other people, change things that way. Nora said something of the same. And if you can't do anything about it, then why worry? Because then you can do your acceptance and let it be practice. So this is the sort of doobie-doobie-doo dynamic of mindful living I was talking about earlier. Surrender, almost there now, Claudia. Surrender. I think I'm going to drop theory on surrender. I'm going to read a short poem. This is Clearing by Martha Postlethwaite. Martha says, do not try to save the whole world or do anything grandiose. Instead, create a clearing in the dense forest of your life and wait there patiently until the song that is your life falls into your own cupped hands and you recognize and greet it. Only then will you know how to give yourself to this world so worthy of rescue. So that's Martha on what we call tending your garden, not rushing out there to do stuff, but tending your garden and allowing things to happen for you. If you want to know more about surrender as a practice, Michael Singer's book, The Surrender Experiment, is brilliant. A guy who's lived his life in surrender. I think that's maybe as far as I get now, Claudia. You said end with some tips, and I'll say that I only have one tip. I will add it in the Q&A.
Okay, great.
Okay.
Luke is asking the name of Martha's piece that you just...
Say again?
Luke is asking the name of Martha's piece that you just
It's called clearing.
clearing.
The clearing in the forest, the dense forest of your life. Martha Postlethwaite.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for your talk. We'll be opening up a little bit for questions. We are a little bit, we have 8 minutes until we finish off our event. If you have any questions, I will start with one, and really looking forward for your number one tip. But we've seen here today that we struggle a lot with comparison, with imposter syndrome, with expectations. So this is all about the expectations of what others have from us as well, of our value as creatives, is a lot on the work that we do. So do you have any exercise or any tip on how to a little bit clear a little bit of accepting ourselves, that you're talking about acceptance? How can you accept ourselves without maybe doing the work that we are most proud of, or without attaching so much of our value as people as the work that we do? Because I think sometimes it's a little bit connected, unfortunately.
It's very connected, isn't it? And very necessary for our learning that we go out there and do and judge and all that stuff. It's the inner journey. That's, for me, is the sort of, salve on the sort of wound of being out there in the world and creating that suffering around us, is to do the inner journey. So it means finding a way of connecting with that inner place where I just meet myself with true acceptance, that I'm always good enough, because that place in me, in you, and in everybody else is totally accepting, totally calm, totally peaceful. Yeah, and that's where you go to heal. So a practice that takes you there, often we need to have a positivity practice of one sort or another. Kindness, gratefulness, generosity, something like that brings us a little closer to those warm feelings that then allow us to go take the inner journey, go that longest journey from, like, it's the longest half meter in the world from my mind and the negativity and the criticism and all that stuff I had up there, the 80, 1950, to the heart space, which takes me closer to that deep space where all those 11 million bits of information are waiting to just sort of wake me up and tell me that you're okay, buddy, because we're all okay, and it's all okay all the time, if we can only see it. Not that it isn't still painful.
So there's a difference between not being okay and the suffering part. The suffering part, is that something that we add with our thinking?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to explain with my little sort of piece of maths up there, is the pain of life, if you like, the stuff that we don't like. That's inevitable, as we all know. But what we make of it that's where we get to make the wise choices. And to make the wise choices, we have to slow down enough, be calm enough, so that we can clearly see that, I'm not being punished if something bad happens. It's not because I'm a bad me. It's not because the world is a terrible place. Stuff happens. It's like, it's the difference between I look out the window and it's raining, and then my mind goes, oh shit, that means I've got to do this. Where's the umbrella? What's going to happen later? Oh, that's going to spoil that. I'm going to get wet. It's probably cold out there. Instead of looking out the window and doing the snapshot and saying, it's raining. Okay. The rest of it will just fix itself if I just have that perspective. It is as it is. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense. And it's a great way of just accepting and finishing off this release event. Do you have your final tip number one, or do you want to share?
I do, yes, thank you. Yeah, it's a little, it's all the A's. So it's AAA plus AA. Yes. This is my let go, acceptance, surrender, change process formula. Yeah, so it's the first A is aware. become aware of what's happening in my raw experience. Yeah. The second A is acknowledge that. As we were saying earlier, we divided up. Am I rejecting, clinging, or numbing myself out? What's my response to my experience? Third one is accept. It is, that is it, as it is. Just seeing that, okay, now I see what's going on. Fourth one is to appreciate. So it's always changing, this stuff. Okay. Then the creativity can start. And then it's act. Really important one at the end is to act, is to go from that place of clarity where you can really make wise choices and do your stuff. That's where the Thesinatra method comes in. Go out there and do your stuff from that clear place of being and those wise choices that you can make. Eckhart Tolle calls that the tool we need for the great shift. That's what I want everybody here to join us on, Claudia, is that great shift that the world needs at the moment. This is the tool for it. Hey, or ah.